introductory presentation. And from the first slide. Yay! So, dear friends, I'm absolutely delighted to see every and each of you today with us on the session, because that will be an interesting session. I hope that will give you an instrument in your hands that you can use for working with youth in the water sector, or even in the environmental sector, or in water governance sector. So that's quite a holistic tool that you can use for yourself. And I will probably dive in. So let us start the presentation. And I'll just dive into the discussion that today from this workshop. So can we have the next slide? All right. Yeah. So we will discuss a little bit today about who we are, because I will be talking about myself a little bit, but also about our. Can we go on the next slide? Yeah. So no, the previous one. Sorry, I'm absolutely sorry. I do have a really bad connection, but I will try to manage this. So yeah, we will discuss a little bit who we are and what we do, about myself and about Boda, who is with us today for these 2 hours, and she is my distinguished speaker, but also a friend, and also the person who stands behind this blue piece index calculation in the sense that we will be discussing. We will be discussing a little bit what is the blue piece, because I feel that some of you might not know what it is. And this will be an interesting experience for all of us to discuss a little bit more about the water as an instrument for peace. And there will be a little bit of the session where we will be presenting uh, our own idea of how you can organize an event that you can call a Blue Peace Youth Calculations. That is both advocacy event, that is also a research event for youth, and that is an engaging event that you can organize anywhere in the world, because we tried in different parts of the world and that works well. We'll have a little bit of the short Q&A session at the end, and that will be the place, the space for you to tell more about yourself to each other, and also to discuss how you can actually use this Blue Peace tool for yourself. Can we move on the next slide? So just a little bit about ourselves, because I feel that when you start discussing the water governance question, which is quite a serious and important question in water issues, you have to know who is telling you the story. And that's why I decided to just talk a little bit about ourselves. So my name is Natalia, and I hold a Master's of Science degree from the Water Cooperation and Diplomacy program from the University for Peace, which is in Costa Rica, IHE Delft from Netherlands, and Oregon State University in United States. If you're interested to listen more about this program, definitely write us in the chat box, or we can discuss it in the Q&A session. Boda, who will be with us, she has the same degree as I do. That's why everything started, all this work that we'll be presenting for you today. But right now, she's also a doctorate candidate in water cooperation, conflict, and diplomacy in IHE Delft, Netherlands. So definitely, this is a really nice place to be in the PhD program. So if you have questions regarding that, we will be happy to answer it. I'm coming from Turkmenistan, both are from Kazakhstan. Both countries are from Central Asia, so it's like Caspian Sea, a little bit like in that direction. Can we move on the next slide? So where we met with Boda. So if you're coming from the water world, you probably might heard about the World Youth Parliament for Water. If you're coming from the environmental world, maybe you didn't. That's why I had this slide. So maybe this will make an interest to someone of you to become a part of the World Youth Parliament for Water. That's a very interesting also a global movement that exists. It has its General Assembly every 3 years. When we have the World Water Forums, we usually have the General Assemblies of the World Youth Parliament for Water. We met when we were in the 2018 together with Bota in Brazil. And that was a fantastic experience. You can see that it was a very engaging experience for us. And I can vouch that the previous the General Assembly of the Fifth Commission just happened recently on the 22nd of March. So it was really an interesting, again, online experience for everyone. So for the next 3 years, there will be people working in the General Assembly. That's a really cool thing. Can we move on the next slide? So when we were together with Bota, already in the water sector, already in the program, studying together, and also working for the youth on the global scale, and also meeting a lot of people from different countries, we thought about how can we engage more youth into the water sector, because water sector seems to be absolutely highly technical or highly political, and it's not easy to find the perfect place for youth to be in that direction. So what we decided to do, and I am presenting it on behalf of the Central Asia, but maybe this interesting idea can trigger interest in you, so that you can use this potential platform for yourselves. So we created a water cafe, what we called it, a water cafe. We wanted to have this, zesty name, and we created one. So that's definitely a voluntary initiative. So we have our own jobs. Bota is doing her PhD, but we do this for just like for fun, I would say, or for enlarging the community of water experts in Central Asia. But we're creating that space for early career water experts where they can exchange the information, participate in discussions, share their research. This seems to be absolutely simple idea, which is everywhere. But the thing is that when you have a transboundary basin, a river which is shared by many countries, and you have youth not really talking to each other, that's when you start having the political problems, because the youth does not see the whole basin as their world that they're living in. So what we thought to do is to create that space where students or early career experts from Central Asia will be talking to each other and sharing their research. And that's the idea that triggered us. So can we move on the next slide? Because on the next slide, I want you just to have this like a glimpse idea of our theory of change. Because when you create something, especially the platform, you think for yourself, what will be changing in the near future, this platform, what it will be doing to you. So we thought that, again, this is relating to Central Asia, but these problems in water sector, they look like almost in every single basin. Yes, they do have their own peculiarities, they do have their own things, but there are some similar problems that we all face with. And especially when you have, among the threats, when you have the separation of approaches in understanding the water resources in the countries of one basin, you have the strengthening of the national positions in negotiation process. And that is definitely leading to unsustainable development of the whole river basin. So of all the countries that are in that direction, and that means that none of the countries in that basin can reach the sustainable development goals. And that is a huge problem. So if we don't go into these brief solutions, so that I'm not really like putting your focus on that, what we thought to do is that in order to face that problem, in order not to make countries to have their really strong positions in the negotiation process that leads to nowhere, we need to have at least to develop an epistemic community of researchers. That means that you will have people in different countries having almost the same mindset, or at least understanding that in order to get from A to B, you have to do certain steps. And that's again a powerful thing, and that's a simple thing, absolutely. So in our case, we want our water cafe to become that platform that will help people to create that epistemic community. Can we move on the next slide? Yeah, so when we were exactly, that's our page on the Facebook that exists. So what we started to do, we just created a Facebook page. It's a little bit as a social learning platform, which means that if I have some information that I share with the audience, I can put it as the library under the tag, and that's a very fun kind of thing to do on the Facebook group. I never saw another Facebook group like this, so that was my first experience, let's say. But when we were exactly already working with Water Cafe, we thought that we needed a tool that will help us to empower youth, because by only researching, you don't have that possibility. So we needed that empowerment moment. We needed something that will tell us that the water and peace are absolutely interrelated. So we needed a tool for that. We needed a tool that will help us to trigger the scientific approach in discussing transboundary issues, do more analysis and research, because usually when you want youth to sit at the table with politicians, politicians usually say that youth is too young, youth does not have the capacity, and youth does not have the knowledge of all the processes that happened in this particular transboundary basin. And that's a false kind of approach. We want to face that approach and actually help youth to do that particular research of their basin, so that they can say, no, we know what happened in this basin, we know about all of the processes, and still you don't do the job, and we know like what to do. So that's the instrument that we needed. And we wanted youth from different countries to do the joint projects together. So we found all of these things that we're looking for in the blue piece. And the blue piece is that idea that we'll be presenting today, because that's an idea, but also like a philosophy. And at the end of the seminar, of this webinar, there will be the instrument that will help you to approach all of these elements that we were missing in that platform. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, as we move towards the next slide, there is the poll. Yeah, and may I ask everyone, and may I ask also Bota to help me with this? Bota, can you share uh, that link? Oh yeah, okay, there is the link. So if you go to the chat, there is already the AHA Slides link, and please write to us. I know that you wrote to us from which country you are, but we also ask you to think, what is the nearest river that you share with another country? Please write us, what river do you have, like a transboundary river? So it might be Nile, it might be Mekong, it might be different like rivers from where you're coming from. Uh-huh. I see. I will also participate. Uh-huh. Interesting. Great Lakes. We do have only 2 people answered, but we have 5 people, 6 people thinking. Good. Good. That will make you think, because that instrument that we'll be presenting is exactly for you to use with another use coming from other countries in your basin. Gandhi River. Perfect. Perfect. We do have Mekong. Oh my God. Perfect. Really, really great. Yes, so I see that we have at least 4 different river basins that our people are coming from. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Yes. So I think it was a really interesting thing to see, also to trigger your understanding of where you're coming from. So now we will try to move towards the understanding of the blue piece, but the blue piece, we will start the discussion. We'll start the discussion from Boda and her little presentation on the indices. So, what can the cooperation look like, or what can be calculated within the basins? How you can measure if the countries are doing well or not well within the river basins? So, Bota, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Natalia. Can you hear me well?
Absolutely, yes,
Okay, and you see my slides, right?
yes.
Okay, good. I'm very happy to be here, and thanks a lot for joining. I hope you will be also inspired when we share our story, how we became engaged with this Blue Peace Index and other tools, and that's definitely a great source of inspiration for us. And I'm going to tell you about indexes on transboundary rivers. And this might sound as a little bit complicated topic, as it was for me at the beginning, because when I think about index, for example, you know about different indexes that exist for, let's say, for have index of happiness, or that can be index of water stress index, or water availability index. Many different indexes which you usually hear, and I used to be like that. I was like, okay, there is an index like that, and I just was taking it for granted without questioning it. So what are the criteria and indicators of how do scientists, or I don't know, different organizations identify or rank different countries? And when I started to think about transboundary river basins during, as Natalia mentioned, master studies on water cooperation and diplomacy, we learned about different transboundary river basins which exist in the world. I think by today it is like 286 or something like that, different basins. And you can see that um, these transboundary basins, it means the area where there is a river which flows through one or which flows through two or more countries. And you can see that out of the world's population, 42% of population live in transboundary basins. And around 42% of land area is located in transboundary basins, and around 56% of river flow is in transboundary rivers. And therefore, you can see that this is a quite a big area, more than health, and that's why it is so much interesting to look into how do countries actually manage to manage resources of these transboundary rivers. And when we started to study, we realized that there are a few different indexes which look into different aspects of transboundary river management and governance. Today, I would like to tell you briefly about few of them. First is Transboundary Freshwater Dispute Database, which was developed by Oregon State University, where me and Natalia also studied. And there is Transboundary Water Assessment Program, TWAP, developed by UNEP, GEF, and also with the support of many different organizations. And the third one is a Blue Peace Index. And this might sound a little bit boring, but when you start looking into these nice maps, which are different, which differentiate different basins by different criteria and indicators, you will realize that this is something super interesting when you look in more details into them. And first, transboundary dispute database. And this was developed, as I said, in Oregon State University. And they, in their index, they try to identify which basins are at risk of transboundary conflict because of shared rivers. And when we start thinking about that, how do we identify if there is a basin which is at risk? What are the criteria? How can we say that this basin is at risk and another one is not at risk? And when they tried to do that, they created this, it is called bar scale, basin at risk scale. And they tried to map all the events which happened in this basin throughout the history, and they ranked these events from +7 to -7, according to their, event intensity scale, how they call that. And that's from +7 is voluntary unification into one nation, and -7 is formal declaration of war. And after that, but also taking into account, yeah, and here you can see historic conflict and cooperative events in different basins throughout their history in different years. And you can see that this database looks into 261 basin. And taking also into account on the right side, you can see biophysical, socioeconomic, and political data. Adding this, and also the topic layer information, which you can see here on the right side. After that, it became possible to identify which basins in the world are at risk of conflict. You can see with the red one, we can see Nile, Tigris, Euphrates, and Aral Sea Basin, from where me and Natalia are actually coming from. And these basins, this index says that these basins are currently in dispute on negotiations. And basins which are in yellow, these basins are at risk of transboundary conflict, and others which are not, which are pretty much stable or peaceful. This is one index. And this is a table which I would suggest you to fill in altogether. And then we could compare different results from different basins. And here, if we look into Tigris, Euphrates, Mekong, Senegal, Amazon, and Sava River, we can see that basins at risk ranked Tigris, Euphrates as currently at dispute, then Mekong as at risk, and Senegal, Amazon, and Sava as no risk, no dispute. And then there is another index, which is Transboundary Water Assessment Program. And there you can see that there were quite a lot of so 15 indicators grouped into 5 different groups: water quality, water quantity, ecosystems, governance, and socioeconomic indicators. And then we have for water systems links, we have also lakes influence and delta vulnerability if they are there. And then all of these replies were, all of these indicators for each basin were classified into 5 categories. You can see them on the right as as a blue as a very low risk, then low risk, moderate, high, and very high risk categories. And then when you look on this slide, you can see all these 15 indicators as columns in this Excel. First, you have this information about river basin, then river basin code, area, population, runoff, discharge, and then these 15 indicators and numbers inside, and they are also colored. And this is interesting because you can see condition of each basin. You can have, when you go to the website, you can see it on the upper part, twaprivers.org. You can see the results, this Excel sheet, which you can also download. You can see results for each river basin. It is 286 river basins. But also you can see which of the columns, so which of the indicators or aspects of water management or just water are not managed well. And here you can see that, for example, for me, it's crystal clear that indicator 5, wastewater pollution, there it is not doing well in the majority of the basins. And for example, let's say for 9, extinction risks, and then enabling environment 12, situation is not that bad. And here, when we compare results from basins at risk index and then TWAP, we can see that Tigris-Euphrates basin was ranked as high risk, as well as Mekong River basin. And it is similar, pretty much similar results as we had from basins at risk. And then Senegal and Amazon were pretty much the same, like moderate risk. And there was also Sava River as part of the new basin. It got high risk, but we cannot really compare the results because Sava, Danube River is a really big one, and Sava is just a tributary. Oh, sorry. And this is the website. When you go there, you can download different indicators and you can create maps and choose indicators which you want to see. And yeah, it is a nice instrument if you want to look into the current condition of transboundary rivers. You can always go there and check there. This is a really cool and very big database, and many scientists, many practitioners worked with this data to upload the information there and create this database. So highly recommend that. And let's see, uh, and let's imagine, and this is something I usually ask my students, if you are to assess cooperation, how would you do that? If we just start thinking that Blue Peace Index had an aim to assess cooperation, is it actually possible? Because when we think about cooperation, this is something, um, yeah, so this is something which comes to relations between different countries or different groups or different people. But how would you assess this relation? How would you measure it? If you start thinking, for me, at least that was quite a challenging question before I encountered the peace index. But actually, there was a try that SDG 6 and its target 6.5. In particular, its target 6.5.2 tries to indicate or map proportion of transboundary basin area with an operational arrangement for cooperation. And this is how SDG actually tries to ensure that by 2030, integrated water resources management is implemented at all levels, including through transboundary cooperation as appropriate. So this is how SDG team, how they are measuring transboundary cooperation through operational arrangements for water cooperation. And when you go to SDG 6 monitoring website, you can see different so you can see indicators which I used there. And here in the first blue circle on the left side, you can see for the arrangements to be considered operational, there are 4 criteria. First, existence of a joint body to manage shared river. Then there is regular formal communication between riparian countries. So riparian countries are the countries which share the basin or the river. And then there is joint or coordinated management plans or objectives. And there is regular exchange of data and information. And then when you look into the right side, you can see the map. And on this map, you can see a lot of areas, a lot of countries which are in gray, and these countries which do not report or have not yet reported about these 4 indicators. But you can see that only a few countries have reported. And that means for me, that was my takeaway from that. When I looked at it, I just thought that probably this mechanism or these indicators are not comprehensive enough to measure cooperation. And yeah, that's again general question. Do you think it is indeed possible actually to calculate cooperation? Sorry for the background noise. Подожди, пусть. And for the Blue Peace Index, I think Natalia is going to repeat that later, maybe. But let me just briefly tell you, yeah, that we saw that Blue Peace Index measures already assessed 5 basins in each continent: Amazon, Mekong, Senegal, Sava, and Tigris Euphrates. Sorry to spoil that, Natalia. And then when we put Blue Peace Index results into the table which we had from the beginning, we can see actually that Tigris Euphrates is scoring the lowest, which is actually similar to other indexes. Then we have Mekong, also on the second place, also similar to other indexes. Then we have Senegal, but then we have this discrepancy that Yeah, here it is not really has high risk compared to Amazon, but still this is a sequence for Blue Peace Index. And then Sava, it's not really um, the results are not that valuable because SWAP measures it as part of the new basin. And then we have, yeah, we have these results, and you can see that there are similarities in the results of all the three indexes. But then when we look into objectives, what each of the indicators are trying to assess or measure, we can see that basins at risk is actually trying to identify and evaluate international river basins at potential risk for future freshwater conflicts. And when we go to TWAP, we can see that its aim is to obtain an overview of global issues threatening human populations and ecosystems through the water system. So you can feel the difference between these two indexes. And that means that there must be a significant difference in the indicators which they are using. For example, TWAP, I don't see the potential really to have that much of the stress on for example, political issues or cooperation on the political level. And then when we go to Blue Peace Index, we can see that its objective is to measure how well countries manage transboundary water resources. And therefore, I think the result of my small investigation was that because of the difference in the objectives, these three indexes have different results. But they are not very much different also. They have just slight differences, and that again can also we can also think that there might be high high dependencies between different factors which affect transboundary cooperation, because the results between Blue Peace Index, for example, which looks into only cooperation, and for example global issues threatening human populations and ecosystem through water, there could be totally different results, but they are not totally different. They are still compatible. And so just sorry again, Natalia, I'm going to spoil your presentation a little bit, but I'm going to speak about a little bit different aspects about indicators. So the Blue Peace Index, and Natalia will later show you, are measuring cooperation in 5 different pillars. I'll not stop in details, but I would like to show you how it actually looks like. For us, when we just started to look into that, that was a little bit difficult. We saw this big methodology note. That's a PDF document which you can actually download from Blue Peace Index website. And there you have a long list of indicators. And I can tell you that there are around 80 indicators in these 5 groups. And here you can see that although it's called indicators, basically it is just a question and then answer to the question. And according to the answer, you can get a score to each of your answers. And at the end, you just calculate how much it scores. And basically, it's quite simple because 0 stands for no cooperation or no relation. And then 1 stands for, half somewhere in the middle. And 2 stands for very good cooperation, good relation, and working mechanisms. And therefore, although it looks like quite a difficult or challenging task, but still when you start applying it, it's basically that you ask a question and then you just start looking for information, and then you answer the question and then you get the score. And this is how all indexes are created, so that although it's called, for example, livability, there is an index on livability of different cities that's also created by Economist Intelligence Unit. But actually, this is created out of different indicators, and the indicators are just questions and then scores. This is how it helped me to understand better how to put it into more understandable document which we could work with. And here I just wanted to show you Excel file which demonstrates scores for different countries of the basins. which were already calculated, and there you can see different scores, how this country scored in their basins, and then they have this ranking. And then you can have out of this course in each of the five groups you have the number, and then you have average number. And of course, there are some shortcomings of assessing cooperation through groups of indicators, because this is a unified tool to measure cooperation, but it is really difficult to live in a world of unified criteria and indicators, and therefore each basin, each river is unique. Each relation between countries are unique, and therefore it is close to not possible to create index which would be sensitive to all the specifics of the basins. And therefore there are some limitations and shortcomings of the basin. But what we try to do, and me, Natalia, and other our friends worked on with the blue piece index, what we try is to adapt the index to each particular basin, to include features of this basin, and create indicators according to these features. Yeah, so this is just basically the example. For example, for the fifth group, for cooperation context, we have, for example, indicator of water stress. And here you have the explanation. For example, it's not a question, but just since there is a database from FAO Aquastat, which looks into proportion of water withdrawal by all sectors in relation to the available water resources. And there you have this database, and there you can take the information from there. Yeah, and as I said, there are shortcomings, but also there are few indicators which was not quite clear for us when we speak about transboundary cooperation. Why do we care about, for example, 532 indicator? Why do we care about share of women in national parliaments? Let's imagine, what's the link between share of women and transboundary cooperation? But then when we talked to Economist Intelligence Unit and we started to read more, we realized that there is some research and study which says that actually number of women or share of women in parliaments or decision-making bodies, they always enable better cooperation of a country with other countries. And therefore, these different indicators, they can sound weird, as for me at the beginning, but they all relate to transboundary cooperation. And therefore, a lot of scientists and prominent scholars from this field were attracted to develop this Blue Peace Index. Yeah, and then when there was a launch of the Blue Peace Index on 23rd August 2019. And me and Natalia were at that moment studying at Oregon State University, and we first heard about it, and we were super enthusiastic about using it. And what we tried to do is to and what we did actually, Natalia is going to tell you in more details. So I think I'll have to stop here, and thanks a lot for listening, and hope it will be interesting for you and will inspire you. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bota. Yes, so that was our, let's say, framework that we're looking at, because we're thinking why we want to take the Blue Peace Index, what lies behind this. Are there other indexes that can really answer some of the questions? How can we improve the water cooperation within the basin? So we try to answer all these questions with the index. So may I have the next presentation, Harry, please? So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Natalia, but I think we have two more basins which were added. Because before there were Great Lakes in Canada, US, Amudarya, Ganges, Mekong, and also Pembina River. I don't
Pimbina.
know about it, but very interesting. Yeah, there's someone from Pembina River Basin.
We'll ask a question. We have a small group. We don't have to go into the breakout rooms. That's nice.
Yeah,
So,
and also Rio Amazonas.
Rio
So there's
Amazon.
someone from Amazon.
Yeah, cool. The Amazon River is with us. Cool. Perfect. So now I know it will be a little bit haphazard for you, but we tried because that's a lot of scientific information, research information, but also the capacity building information for us to tell you in these 2 hours. So I will just slightly drag you into the blue piece, what it is for us, and again into the blue piece index. And that's a perfect thing to do. So let me just go for the next slide. So the blue piece conversation starts, yes, it starts from understanding water at its core of the sustainable development. Can you click, Harry? Yes. So the main thing for us all to is to understand that the water lies at the core of all the sustainable development goals that are set by the Agenda 2030. Right now on this image you see that the water is interconnected with only, I would say, 6 goals, but in reality it is interconnected with all the goals, all the SDGs. And it's been about like 2 years that the international community understood that the water is at the core, and that they started this acceleration of the water, of the SDG 6 on sanitation and clean water paradigm, so that they can accelerate the whole implementation of the Agenda 2030. So that's a very integral part. And can you click again, Harry, so that there will be another image coming up? Yes. So we were talking about water being an integral part of the political, let's say, dilemma, but there's also the in-country understanding that having the water sector being at the core of all other sectors, the economic sector, the also social environmental sector, and bringing the benefits to these sectors, and also at the political and strategic benefits, that there is an interesting study that I'm just relating in that link below, that even demonstrates that you can calculate in US dollars or in any currency the cooperation that is not going well because of the water. So transboundary cooperation between the countries sharing one river basin is a must have to do. So the blue piece, we go on the next slide. The blue piece looks at these different transboundary waters that are shared by countries, and it's again that map that Boda was showing you, telling you that by the percentage of the transboundary basins and percentage of the people that are using them, every 2 out of 5 people are using water from a transboundary basin. And that's a huge number for us to consider. That's something that the blue piece is targeting. Can we go on the next slide? So we're talking about the benefits that will be coming from the cooperation within sharing one waters, that will again demonstrate the economic growth of the countries as soon as they start cooperating, the political and strategic cooperation, because they can go beyond only water cooperation. That can be the economic cooperation, that can be any kind of cooperation within the basin. And that definitely will bring to social and environmental improvements, and that's something that IUCN is definitely targeting, the environmental improvement of the whole situation. Can we go on the next slide? So the blue piece offers you like a philosophy that the water should never be used as the instrument for war or for conflict, because there is high potential, as Boda was describing, and scientists are looking into this, into different indexes to understand, can you actually predict a conflict within the river basin? So they understand that the water can trigger such a like warlike behavior. So the blue peace approach is to look at the water as an instrument of peace, because for discussing the water issues, you can have all the politicians, even if they're like at the conflict situation, they still come and sit at one table, because water is universal, because you cannot really substitute water to anything. You can have like oil, you can substitute oil for gas or something else, other resources, but there is no substitute for water. And that's something that triggers everyone to sit at that one table. And this should be definitely used in the like setting the peace in the world. So definitely it reduces or averts the conflicts over water, and it provides opportunities for further cooperation, as we were discussing, among the countries, sectors, and communities at different levels, not even on the country level, but also at different within country levels. And that's very crucial, very important philosophy, let's say, like framework to kind of start with. Can we go on the next slide? Yes. So the blue piece in practice, again, gives you some little various instruments, some diplomatic, political, technical, financial instruments that you can use in the daily work. The blue piece starts the process both from the upside, from the top down and from the bottom up approaches. When you talk to politicians, when you tell them that the water should be used as the diplomatic tool, when you speak to them about the creating of a safe space for dialogue, encouraging exchange and promoting inclusiveness at this diplomatic level, when you talk to them and already to the governments about the political implementation, the enhancing of the common understanding of transboundary water management, and also encouraging transparency and accountability. Those are just crucial things for cooperation. When you speak to technical guys, because you have in the water sector, it's still understood in many countries as a technical issue. There is more water and there is less water, and policy is somewhere beyond that. So understanding that you need to talk to technical guys about the capacity and sharing data, because unless you're not sharing data, you are absolutely bounded. You don't know what is happening in other countries, and you don't know if your calculations for the future predictions are right. So that's crucial. And you can also engage the financial instrument, because you can also develop innovative financial tools and facilitate cross-sectoral and transboundary investment in water. And that's again crucial thing to do. So in practice, the blue piece ensures that decision makers have the technical expertise, political support, and financial investment. So all of these implications come into the blue piece. So that's a huge work. Maybe I will just tell briefly that the blue piece idea actually, like it was created by the Switzerland, and it came to birth, I think somewhere in 2015. So they started to use it as the kind of, let's say, political agenda. But then they understood that the idea of the blue piece is much bigger, that only one country can own it. So they decided that no one owns this idea. It's just there for the world to spread the word, to do a lot of interesting events, or to do a lot of interesting, engaging things in the name of the blue peace, to build the peace. So that's something that really triggered our attention for Central Asia, because we also have, as any other basin, we have the potential for the conflictive behavior between the countries, but we really want to build the peace. Can we go on the next slide? So the main takeaway message today for you will be that the blue piece really helps to look into the intergenerational approach. So because we know that there are a lot of old technical guys, water experts in the countries, and there is the younger population of the water experts, and sometimes there is no dialogue between the two groups. And that's something that every single country, every single basin is struggling with. And that's why we have so many youth-led events, so that we try as youth to find our place, so that these experts, already mature experts, they will have the opportunity to listen to us, to listen to our perspective, to to have to engage in that dialogue. So Blue Peace offers you this opportunity. Between the borders, as we were discussing in the previous slide, a lot of potential there is in between countries to speak to each other, to understand the positions, the interests, and the values of each country, and to understand that there should be a joint cooperation between the countries over water resources, and between the sectors. Again, financial sector, governmental sector, different sectors, like more thematic one, agriculture, industry, like random usage of the water. So there is a lot of potential to bridge this all cooperation paradigms together in order to bring the stability and sustainable development and reach these SDGs that we have set. Can we go on the next slide? And there is also, as just going into this intergenerational dialogue, a lot of potential for Blue Peas to build some instruments for youth. So we see, and they position themselves as the global movement that highlights initiatives on water, peace, and diplomacy and cooperation. So it has a strong component on the youth empowerment. So the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation is really engaging into that, building or supporting those initiatives. So if you're interested to learn more about this, you can go on the website that I'm here linking to, but we will move a little bit to the next slide. So right now there is a potential to watch the video because Bota was raising that question, what is the Blue Peace Index? And there is a short video that was created by the Economist Intelligence Unit because they were the ones whom Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation asked to develop more this index, this approach to understand whether countries are doing well in the transboundary basin or not doing well. So there will be the video, and maybe I'll ask Boda to start the video. So maybe Hari, if you can, perfect.
Water is the basis of life on Earth. In 2010, the United Nations recognized access to water as a human right. Today, more people than ever have secure access to water to live and work. But this progress is under threat due to climate change, population growth, and unsustainable exploitation of natural resources. Not only is this a threat to health and economic development, it also endangers peace. Competition for dwindling water supplies can spark conflict between and within nations. Nearly 40% of the world's population lives in regions that rely on water sources that cross national boundaries. It's vital, therefore, that countries that share the same water resources work together. The Blue Peace Index is a tool that measures how well countries manage transboundary water resources. In this, the first year of the index, it looks at 5 river basins. The index reveals that transboundary collaboration has already improved water security for many communities. By developing critical infrastructure, limiting the cost of floods and droughts, and promoting economic and political integration. But more must be done to ensure that access to life's most basic resource is equitable and peaceful. To discover the principal strategies for achieving Blue Peace, visit bluepeaceindex.eiu.com.
Perfect, thank you. So that was a short video that was created by the Economist Intelligence Unit. Can we go back to the presentation? So we will be just right now moving. I will just say a few words because everything was said in that perfect presentation and also said by Boda in her speech that the Blue Peace Index was exactly created to calculate this transboundary cooperation between the countries, and that there are 5 groups of indicators, and that's comprehensive, like different kinds of a comprehensive approach where you have different kinds of questions that help you to holistically understand whether the basin is doing well or not. So in our case, can we go on the next slide, please? Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, in this case, we will be looking, so the second half of our webinar today, we will be thinking together, like as a group, sorry, what we can do actually together to calculate that Blue Peace Index, but also to use it as the tool for youth to engage in more activities, to spread their word, to build their capacities. So we tried to organize several events in that name of the Blue Peace Index, and I will just briefly tell you a little bit more about that right after the question and answer session, a little bit of the question and answer. So please come up with your questions right now if you want to ask more about the Blue Peace Index. because I can answer and both I can answer your questions right now, or we can have the Q&A session at the end because there will be a discussion going on. So absolutely. We were looking at that index, understanding that it's a comprehensive approach that was developed by best professors and also best researchers of both the Economist Intelligence Unit, but also they invited different experts from the water field. So it was a huge kind of work done. And we thought within ourselves, how we can do this, students of the master's degree, how we can calculate or maybe do the same kind of approach within the basins. And we came up with our own methodology of how we can do that. So I would say, do have questions at this moment? You can switch on your microphone and ask. No. No. Then we move on to the next, I think, presentation. So now it's that fantastic thing. So maybe I will. Bota, are you sharing? Ah, Harry is sharing. Harry, maybe you can go for the next presentation. Yes. So while they will be switching, I will just tell you that we started, as Bota said, this journey in 2019 when the Blue Peace Index was presented. Until then, we were really engaged into the Blue Peace. We were thinking that we can use this as the tool to discuss more about the water issues with youth, but we didn't know how to, like, we were looking at it as the cube of Rubik. I mean, we could not really understand how you can make a capacity building event out of the Blue Peace. And that Blue Peace Index really triggered understanding of how you can engage more youth. And that was the thing that really, oh, it's, sorry, it's the Blue Peace Index, BPYC. Do you have it? Yeah. Okay, we're moving into that. So what we thought is that you create an event, I mean, we created an event that really triggered an intention from other organizations which are working with youth. And they said to us that Bot and Natalia come up with a methodology that you can really share with people from other countries, and they can organize such an event for their youth. And that's exactly something that we're about to show you. Maybe let me try to share that presentation, maybe myself, so that I don't. Perfect. It's okay. So let me just do the slideshow. Yeah. So what we try to do is to come up with this perfect workshop on the Blue Peace Youth calculations. And in our case, we started this journey from the Blue Peace event at the University for Peace in Costa Rica. So at that moment, we had in mind only that the Blue Peace is an instrument for peace. We want to talk to guys, and the guys around us, I mean, you see them on the picture, those were people coming from different backgrounds. So when you have a diverse team of people that you want to engage in the discussions of water, you can have environmentalists, you can have political policy people, you can have any kind of people there. And what we try to do is to talk about the water, talk about the problems that the water is leading to if not managed well by countries, and promote youth action and advocacy in this sense. So showcase how we were talking at different platforms, how we were engaging in the conversations with policy decision makers. So that was something that we were discussing. We organized a 2-hour live stream event. That was perfect. We tried engaging activities as Blue Peace drops, and you can see them on the right, I guess. And the blue chalkboard you see also. So you see these like things, they are really simple things, but you make people think about water in different directions. I will share this presentation and you can have this, like, you can link on more information about us from this website. So the next step was the 2019, the Blue Peace Index appeared. We understood that now it's the perfect time to actually try this Blue Peace Index on the river. So we tried to calculate the transboundary cooperation index by ourselves. We had a diverse group of people, but this time those were people uh, talking about water, working in water. Those were MSc, so master's and PhD students from the Oregon State University. So they had good skills in research. They definitely understood the problems that we're looking at, and they knew how to deal with indexes and calculate. So they were set for this a little bit intense work on the Blue Peace Index calculation. So what we tried to do was to format of the adapted methodology that was provided by the Economist Intelligence Unit. We calculated the basin that they all knew because we were coming from Central Asia, but the guys that we were working for were actually coming from the United States. And that was something that was new for us. And we tried also to calculate the interstate level. That means that we didn't look at the United States and Mexico sharing the Colorado River. We tried to look at the states within the United States sharing that river, how well they share it. And that was the number that we came up with. So we tried to actually modify the Blue Peace Index with its questions into something that will answer our questions. And that's what the youth has power for. You can really design anything, and you can do the processes like really engaging for other youth. You can trigger the research interests in these guys to actually go forward and calculate maybe other basins. And that's what actually happened, that one of the American students that participated there, she became so much interested that then she came up with a Columbia River calculation event. And that was great. And when we started to share a word about how to calculate the basins, we started to receive interest from the Jordan and Kura Rocks rivers, from the Ganges River. I mean, that's a really cool thing. And then we were invited by the agency working with the youth to actually develop more on the online tool that you can actually use. So what we have right now for us is that if you go to the World Youth Parliament for Water website, and you can see it here, you will see that there is this little workshop guidelines for the Blue Peace use calculations. I'm still working for adding information on that, but please come back, I would say maybe 2-3 weeks from now, and we'll start uploading documents that you can use when you will be organizing a workshop yourself. So that's absolutely a perfect thing. I think, yeah. So here, I just wanted to make a brief kind of talk on what you will find there. You will find there documents. So there will be a set of documents providing basic package that will enable you to easily plan and conduct such an event, including the facilitation plan and including the plan, like where not to, what not to forget when you're organizing the event. You'll have 6 videos, and that's something that we will be working from this day until the end of the year, because we want these 6 videos to be animations. We want them to be absolutely wonderful things that you can use for yourself to understand how to calculate transboundary cooperation, but also you can use it during the event for your participants to understand the same thing. And today, I'm absolutely delighted to share with you that we'll be showing you the first video that we did recently. So also on the same website, you will get some expert support from the growing community of the people who tried the Blue Peace Index. And today I also have an honor to present a short video of people who actually tried to calculate Nile, to calculate the like, or plan to calculate other basins. You will hear from them, their experience, their expectations, their aspirations. So something that we really like to do. Um, among the documents, just a brief annotation that there will be the event flyer, the checklist, the scoring sheet, because this is something that you will spread among the participants. I also want to say that we tried to use, even at that moment in 2019, we tried to actually use the Blue Peace both for offline event, because we gather people, there was no corona problem at that moment, but we'll also try to attract some online participants, and that's possible. And you can do that with online participants too. So that's something to consider for you. And also the consolidated scoring sheet, but also the icebreaker. So for the videos, there will be 6 videos, as I said, coming. So how to get started, use of indicator scoring, calculating scores, data resources, missing information, organizing event. That's the videos that we're about to make. But today you will see the video, why do we need an index which calculates transboundary cooperation. It will speak a little bit again about the things that we already discussed, but we didn't know how to better, tell you the story to show the video.
Short video number 1. Why do we need an index which calculates transboundary cooperation? Global population growth and unsustainable management of natural resources threaten the quality and quantity of freshwater resources available for humans. The limited character of freshwater resources paves the way for potential conflicts over water resources at different levels and between different countries. Almost 40% of the world's population lives in the river basin shared with other countries. This means that 2 out of 5 people rely on transboundary water for drinking and domestic use. For example, the Danube River Basin is shared by 19 countries. It's the river basin shared by the largest number of countries in the world. Thus, a successful transboundary water cooperation is vital for both local and global sustainable development. That said, how can we improve transboundary cooperation? Is it possible to analyze the current cooperation processes and find their gaps? The answer is yes. We invite you to the Blue Peace world to explore the complexity of a cooperation paradigm. It is based on the Blue Peace Index methodology developed by the Economist Intelligence Unit and Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. The Blue Peace is a global movement which aims to develop a culture of peace while achieving equitable and sustainable use of precious freshwater resources across borders, sectors, and generations. Simply speaking, the Blue Peace movement believes that water should be used for building a dialogue. The Blue Peace Index provides a tool to measure how well countries manage their shared water resources. The approach aims to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the cooperation framework to then work towards the development of recommendations for improvement. More specifically, it explores cooperation through 5 lenses of policy and legal frameworks, institutional arrangements and participation, water management instruments, infrastructure and financing, and cooperation context. The Blue Peace Index can be used by all interested parties, but for this journey, we're now focusing on mobilizing young leaders aiming to drive water innovation and advocacy. Youth are actively engaged in the Blue Peace movement. They are considered as an important stakeholder and the main driver of positive change in the water sector, building tomorrow's experts and champions. Their voices are being increasingly heard at various political and negotiation platforms. To foster youth voices, we're now presenting an engaging workshop with the support of the International Secretariat for Water. This workshop is called the Blue Peace Youth Calculations and is a space where the youth provide the brains behind the assessment of specifically selected river basins. As an ultimate goal, the event aims to generate research interest and promote dialogue amongst the youth of riparian states sharing transboundary waters. We invite you to follow this exciting learning journey on transboundary water cooperation. We will offer a set of recommendations and tools required to organize your own workshop on the Blue Peace Youth Calculations. All you need to do is to identify the river basin you want to work on, download the necessary documents from the website of the World Youth Parliament for Water, and watch the explanatory videos. You may wish to work alone, or invite your friends, colleagues, or even youth and experts from other neighboring countries. You may also choose to organize an online event attracting youth from all over the world. The Blue Peace Youth Calculations will enable you and your team to explore the complexity of the transboundary issues in an easy and fun way through networking and capacity building activities. The following series of videos: how to get started, use of indicators and scoring, calculating scores, data sources and missing information, and organizing an event will provide a short overview of how to organize a Blue Peace Youth Calculations event. Are you ready to start? Let's go to youthforwater.org.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Boda. May I ask you also to stream another video? So we do have different voices coming from people from around the globe, and you will see that it's a lot of like it's a community, it's a growing community of people who are trying the Blue Peace Index, but also who will be using the Blue Peace Index for the basins, because this activity it can last for 2 hours, it can last for several days. It depends fully on you as an organizer to actually stretch the event as much as you want, to engage as many people as you want, and also to calculate and even add questions, eliminate questions within the Blue Peace methodology. So you can play around, you can make it so engaging, and you can make it fun. I mean, that's why we're showing you the event at the UPeace University, where you can have the blue drops, where you can have discussions, and when you can have people writing water in different languages on the desk, on that board. So you can have it like a really engaging event. So Bota, can I ask you? Perfect. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Elodie. I'm from Geneva in Switzerland, and I've been working with the Blue Peace team on the Blue Peace Index for the Nile Basin. Actually, we work on a sub-basin level, focusing on Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. We've chosen those three countries because of the ongoing and unconclusive so far negotiations around the GERD, the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And our idea was a bit to understand what were the current institutions, agreements, but also flaws among those three countries in order to understand what ideally an agreement should be covering. And I think I would really recommend to other youth to use the Blue Peace Index, because it's really, I think it's really easy to use. The process, the guidelines are pretty straightforward, so even without 10 years of experience in the water sector, I think it's feasible, and it's really it's still a comprehensive tool despite being easy to use.
Marhaba, I am Ahmed from Palestine, and I have assisted and worked on the Blue Peace Index calculation for the longest river in the world, which is the Nile River. We include in our work three countries: Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia. We know that for many years ago that many civilizations were built beside these rivers, and locally there is many songs and stories speak about the river and what the beauty came from it, especially for the Egypt countries. One of the most exciting things that we find during the work is the acceptance of from the local youth from this country to contribute and help us in this work.
And as such, I've become part of the Blue Peace team of the World Youth Parliament for Water, where I've been working on the fifth pillar of the Blue Peace Index, that on cooperation, mostly occupying myself with Sudan and Egypt. I really enjoyed working with this index because it has really taught me how to make such a complex and all-encompassing concept such as blue peace really tangible and measurable. And actually this index is very comprehensive and has really opened my mind, broadened my mind with regards to all the different components that are part of Blue Peace. And if you want to do any research or any policy influencing or anything like that, I feel like consulting the Blue Peace Index, calculating it for your case study, calculating it for your context is really essential in making sure that you understand the broadness of all the elements that are part of it. So I highly recommend other youths to also work with this index. It is a very useful tool.
We have decided to work on Kuraraks River Basin as our country Armenia is the part of this basin with its neighboring countries. There is absence of huge involvement in local decision-making processes, lack of environment education, and low public awareness.
We have been inspired of Blue Peace Index during the 15th session of the European Youth Parliament for Water. Through this index, we'll examine Kura-Araks basin countries' regulatory and institutional landscapes. Young people will be able to better communicate, to work together to drive changes towards sustainable transboundary water management and river ecosystem protection, contribute to a more collaborative and peaceful society. We plan to create a Kura-Araks Youth Coalition, which will be the first joint initiative for peace building through water between youth of this basin. Water should be managed on a democratic basis, with citizens, including young people, participating in decision-making processes. It is the youth who will inherit the virtues and vices of today's decisions. Nature does not have boundaries, and the environmentally conscious societies and cooperative attitude are key to solve global problems and rebuild trust between the nations.
Hi, my name is Cholpon and I'm from Kyrgyzstan. And Kyrgyzstan is one of 5 countries located in the region of Central Asia. The Republic of Kazakhstan and the Kyrgyz Republic, they share the waters of transboundary Central Asian rivers Chu and Talas. And so we are going to actually hold a series of BPI calculations for such rivers in between of our countries. And starting from these Chu Talas rivers would be the beginning of our BPI calculation journey. Looking exactly at these river basins would be a valuable way for us for youth of Central Asia to learn deeper on different aspects of water cooperation within these basins and on different levels, including the challenges and opportunities to improve and enhance water cooperation.
Perfect. Thank you, Boda. Thank you so much. So that was mostly our, program where we wanted to talk to you, to tell you the story, to show you what we have done, and to share with you our understanding of the water cooperation and the index itself. Now, I think we'll just give you the floor also to talk. We have 12 participants. So I'm just thinking, how do you think, Hari, shall we disintegrate? Shall we go into the rooms?
Yes, we can. But I think we have only 11 participants. 4 of them are from the tech team. So I think one team will be sufficient, or do you think we make a two breakout rooms?
We can stay. No,
sorry, Natalia. I would just say that let's stay maybe here, and to encourage interaction between different basins. Would be nice to learn experience of all people. Yeah, thank you. I agree with you, Hari.
Absolutely. So I'm just hitting maybe 2 questions. What do you think about the Blue Peace Index? Do you have questions? Do you have any suggestions for us? Please speak for your basin. I mean, we have so many interesting basins today with us. So do we have the volunteers?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, so maybe I can start. It's really impressive, the work that you have been doing. And obviously very new as well to me personally. I was thinking when you calculate or when you came up the blue with the blue piece index methodology, was there a step where you mapped the stakeholders, let's say, or was it directly related to the sectors? Because you showed us there are 5 categories, and it seemed like it is more at a I don't know. Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
I see. That's a really, really good question. I think we never thought about that, that you can actually map the stakeholders. No, there is no such a thing in the blue piece right now where you map them. So as you rightly said, already there are categories. So definitely that's something to actually do. When you will be sitting with the youth, you can start from actually mapping the stakeholders. And we have a really nice suggestion if you would like to follow this paradigm. We really have this Bota, do you remember in the Oregon State University, we were like drawing a huge map of everyone, like of the river itself, but also of the different stakeholders, like the house for, for some of the stakeholders and stuff. And it was such a fun activity. I mean, with everyone who remembers like the stakeholders to actually portray them on that map. So you can definitely do this. It will not, though, become a part of the Blue Piece Index calculation, and I don't know how it can be actually used. But Bota, she was rightly, do you remember, she was telling us that they are asking how many women there in the parliament. So it's more or less kind of answering your question.
Mhm.
So that was an
Uh,
attempt.
yeah, I think it's really very important because although transboundary basins are more at a political and national level, it's ultimately used by people. So if there is sense of belonging, so there will be, I think, effective enforcement, and as well as people will follow what they need to make sure that it's being sustainably used.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. Absolutely. But do you, in your basin, so like, let me try from the basic question. Do you deal with water issues?
Mm, yes and no. I'm now stepping into the sector. I come more from environment background. Yeah, and I have dealt with urban areas. Yeah, before. Yeah, water services in urban areas.
I see. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because we were like more at the political level, but definitely the urban level is exactly the people who are actually using the water. So we're delighted to have you. Yeah. So maybe someone else also wants to speak. So do we have water people here? Limi Bota.
I will become one.
True, true. No, that's very interesting because we were actually a little bit afraid when we started to think about presenting the blue piece here. We were thinking that people will be coming more from the environmental background and thinking throughout the session how they can implement the same index, but more at the environmental level. So there are some of the questions relating to the to exactly the environmental sector. And there is also for youth-led partnerships event, kindly email us in your proposal. I see. Thank you. Crystal, do you want to say more about that?
About our youth-led organization or about this session?
I would say about the session, but you also have an interesting link, so maybe you can
Yeah.
advertise. Yeah.
Okay. So I am the co-founder of Youth Climate Navigators. Our
Mhm.
mission is to be a catalyst for innovative youth in adaptation and mitigation mechanisms of climate change, and to directly incline uh, in empowering the youth community.
Mhm.
So about this session, it says about Blue Peace Index. Um, if I'm not mistaken, World Parliament for Water, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I actually have friends who are members of World Parliament of Water. When I attended a uh, forum before in Egypt, the World Youth Forum. So I know about their advocacies about water conservation. At the same time, in each region or in each uh, countries, they have different ways to manage water. So when we say in Africa, they usually rely on their oceans or the main river coming through there or passing through there. Like for example, in Egypt, it's the Nile River. So they have to take care of that, not only through policy or governance, but also at the grassroots level, at community level. But when you go to the global south, for example, in my country, the Philippines, we rely on watershed as our source of water. So before I work as a science research specialist and I craft policies or frameworks as a policy researcher on how we can sustainably manage our water resources and guide these local leaders to better implement these policies or ordinances and plans to provide water at different sectors. For example, in ecotourism, in farming or agriculture, and even in industrial level, um, so that by 2030 or by 2050, we as an island nation will have a sustainable source of water. So it comes with also protecting our forests and at the same time our oceans because our 70% of our GDP comes from fisheries,
Mm.
agriculture, and also forestry sectors. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very interesting. That's really great. Uh, do we have also other people who want to speak up of what they're actually doing? Because that's really interesting. Because that's why we need this IUCN Global Summit because we meet people who are actually working in different sectors.
Hello. Hello, this is Bhumika Thapa from Nepal. Thank you for these great presentations. Actually, in Nepal, we have many transboundary rivers which are linked with China and India, and many activities which are doing by India are affecting Nepal's people. Actually, especially from the flood and other things. So there is always conflict between Nepal peoples and Indian peoples, as well as in the political level, in the high level. So,
Do you
sorry.
see? Yeah, it was.
And there is very little talks about this transboundary issue. So nice to seeing such initiation in the context of transboundary river issue. Actually, we also started. My background is environmental science, and many people from India and Nepal started to talk about the transboundary river issue. By the name of Rise of River South Asia, in short form RORSA, we started to talk about the transboundary issue, transboundary conflict and all. So, but I don't know about, I don't have any about this uh, blueprint index. So now I have some idea about this, and I'm again wants to thank you for this sharing. I'll go through deeply and want to know about this more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, no, absolutely. That's really great that we have so many people from different countries, because that's how you spread the word. Because yeah, we started to actually do the presentations like a year and a half ago, I guess, and people started to get interested in trying the index. It looks very comprehensive, but it's really something that you can start with to build the dialogue and to raise the awareness, definitely. So I'm really glad we have people. Yay! So anyone else wants to share the story from where they're coming from? No. No.
I guess I can talk a little bit about what I think.
Go.
So yeah, I know I wrote in the chat earlier. I'm tuning in, I guess, from Saskatchewan, Canada, which is basically in the middle of North America in the prairie region. And I don't know very much about river basins or anything, but I did see on the map earlier that it looks like there's some river that crosses between right about here where I am and America, maybe just a bit to the east. And I was wondering maybe if I should consider doing an event like that on that river sometime.
Colombia, no.
Sorry, could you repeat, please?
Yeah, I was just saying I am in Saskatchewan, Canada, which is basically in the middle of Canada, right in their sort of prairie region in the center. And I don't know very much about river basins, or their names, but I saw on the map earlier that was highlighting all the different transborder river
Transboundary rivers.
Yeah, that there was one that seemed to cross the boundary between Canada and America just east of where I am. And I was just considering maybe trying to do an event, a Blue Peace event on that river.
Yeah, the thing is actually that there is North American World Youth Parliament for Water. And I think there are two different parliaments, one in Canada and one in the US. And these two parliaments came together to calculate Blue Peace Index on Columbia River. I think that happened last year, but we could maybe I could share the screen again and we could check which basin do you mean? You mean this map?
I think it's
yes. I think this is the one.
Yeah,
this one, right?
Yeah,
I think this is Colorado River, and its basin. I might be wrong, but I think Colorado River was already calculated. But let me check. I think there was something else planned. Columbia. No, I mean white paper. Do you remember?
White paper.
Because actually, let me just tell you a little bit of the history of that. I can fully understand that you are not that close and maybe you do not know much about the rivers where you live, and that's totally fine. I mean, for me, before I started to study and work for water sector, I didn't know where the water comes from into my tap, and that's totally fine. But I think the major river or the biggest river between US and Canada is this Columbia River, and the agreement which they have between US and Canada is going to expire in like 3 or 4 years from now. And there are different groups, can be governmental or informal groups, which are working together to improve the agreement, treaty which is in place now. And this, which I mentioned, Canada Youth Parliament for Water, and then US Youth Parliament for Water, I think together they call themselves North American World Youth Parliament for Water. They actually launched a project, and they were calling for young researchers to work on developing a white paper based on this Blue Peace Index, to calculate actually cooperation between US and Canada, and also to give some recommendations to the governments and to organizations and commission which are working on developing the treaty. And therefore, if you have an interest, we could put you in contact with this Canadian and the US parliaments if you have an interest, because I think this is something, just in case if you have an interest, I think that would be nice just to get to know more about that.
about the processes which are happening there.
Yeah, getting in contact with them, that might be pretty interesting, just to see, just to get involved and see how everything is working with these different indexes and blue peas.
Yeah, I let me maybe find you. So I think I did you send the link, Natalia, to North America?
Not exactly to the North American. I don't see it on the map, but I just set it to all the parliaments. But you can find the North American one. But if you have access to the North one, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to share it now.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting to get in touch with them because they are always, very active and looking for. They are currently working on Colorado River Basin workshop on Blue Peace Index. I think you could check here, and if you are interested, you can just, volunteer and to help or make any suggestions for improvement or to find people in different organizations who might be interested. There are plenty of, opportunities and options to get engaged. You don't have to do everything yourself. You could help in organizing things, or you could vice versa, help with calculating without help in organizational details.
Perfect.
Yeah, but thank you. That was interesting. Thank you, Graham. Sorry if I mispronounce your name.
Yeah, and I probably should add that the North American Parliament is, as Boda said, super active, and they're really looking into the research potential of youth, because the president of the parliament, or the person who is actually leading the initiative, she is at the Oregon State University, and she is the one trying the white paper initiative, so trying to publish the research, because we should warn you a little bit. The tool that we created, I mean, the methodologies that we present, that we simplified, is coming from the official methodology that the AU created, and they have the official scores of the basin. What we are presenting is unofficial scores, because that's the youth who will be calculating the scores. And of course, the information in the open access that the youth can actually find is limited. And that's another trigger to search for more information. But also, these are unofficial scores of the basins. This is like you're trying to research the basin to understand the history of the relationships between the countries in this basin, because they will be asking you about the agreements that you have in the basin, about the organizations that are regulating water issues in the basin. So you will know a lot about the basin in several hours or several days, depending how long the session will be. But this will be an unofficial scores. At the same time, we were asking the EU, because we were staying in touch with them the whole process. So we were asking them whether youth, especially coming from Mekong, or coming from the Nile basins, or coming from those basins which are already calculated, if they want to calculate the same basins by themselves, that's okay. Or if they want to calculate a basin which has already a country which is calculated, how to deal with that. And they said that you need to, if you want to use our score, they said to us, like the EU score, then you need to make a kind of a note that this is an official score for the country, for China, for example, or for the country in Europe. So that's an interesting remark, I guess. But maybe someone else wants to share their story, because it's so interesting to hear from you guys. Do we have other volunteers? I see people coming in and out. Because I wanted just to say that yes, we are also, me and Boda. Oh, I see Chelsea is sharing. Perfect, from Ecuador. I would like to learn and participate in calculation of the Blue Peas Index. Perfect, thank you. Yes, definitely. We were showing you the information about us in the presentations, but let me also drop my email. So if you would like to just hear more about this and you missed our connections before, please find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Yes, here. So you can find me anywhere. Drop me messages. I will delegate also to Bota, or maybe Bota can share her contacts too. And we'll try to, find people who already are in your basins calculating the blue piece, or maybe having the same experience, or maybe trying the new one. So we'll be glad to help you anyhow that we can. And please check on that website that I was showing you, the Youth for Water, because at that website we will be, downloading some of the documents that you can use. So yeah, thank you, Boda, for sharing. So I'm just thinking that maybe we will start, closing the session, because it was so great to have you all with us. It was an interesting journey for us too. It's still a great journey for us to understand how you can really inspire people to use more research tools, to become more advocative for the positions of the countries, and how you can really, engage people in the cooperative patterns. So we're absolutely delighted that you were with us, staying for these 2 hours. Thank you for that. We hope that we inspired you. Uh, we all hope that we inspired you, and there'll be more coming. So thank you. Thank you once again from the bottom of the heart. And yeah, I think we'll be closing at the moment. So I'm just thinking, thank you for the applauses. Uh, I'm just thinking maybe I know that IUCN was offering the option of sharing the folder with the presentations, but you know what, just like drop me a message that you want to have our presentations or maybe videos, and I will like see what we can do, because I will probably then create the Google Drive and we'll just share with you the link. So if you're interested in that one. Thank you guys, thank you everyone. So maybe see you on the next session. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Can I sign it now?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I wanted, yeah, just a sec. Just a sec. Yeah, so I just removed all the participants. So I just don't know how we proceed further. So Harry, you're just moving to another session. You forget about us, right?
No. I remember the presentation and I have all the slides.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry for that. So Joycey, do you need anything from us? If you can speak. If you cannot speak, you can write. I just don't know. I really. Okay, she's keeping silent. Maybe she's typing. Okay, so if you need anything, it's the same email. Please email me. I will try to send you anything that I can, links to presentations, anything. Yeah. So hope it was good. We had 11 people, 5 coming, incoming, and going. Yeah.
But it was nice. Nice to know about the blueprint index.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we
Actually,
tried.
my background is from wildlife, but I am learning new different things from this
Huh?
presentation, from these sessions. And it
Wait, your background is in which?
wildlife
Oh,
conservation.
yeah. Interesting. Cool. Wildlife. That's cool.
So you said that you have a friend uh, from Nepal. Do
Yes,
you
we do.
remember her or his name?
No, it was, wait, Bota, can you remember a name? I'm so bad at names. I remember the faces. I can share I can send
Yeah,
you the.
Rosny Bhattarai. Harat Said?
Okay, Rosni Bhatrai.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know
I
her?
don't know. I don't know her.
She's so active. She was like in the World Youth Parliament, she was the vice president, and she is so active in different like initiatives, but it's all like either climate or energy related initiatives, I guess.
But I think
So
now she's in Dubai as a model.
really? I didn't know that. Okay, before that she was advocating for children and everything, like kind of. Okay. Yeah, but she was a part of the parliament. So if you would like to become a part of the parliament, also ask us. I mean, people are coming to the room. No. No.
No, there are some of my friend who works for water. I can send some of the link.
Perfect. Yeah. Because I know that I mean, it's a cool initiative and it should be just spread. I mean, people can use this platform to do lots of great things in the water sector and share ideas together. So yeah, go ahead. So guys, I thank you again from the bottom of my heart for staying with me as I was speaking, through videos and through, personally typing you messages. Thank you. Thank you. We did it.
Okay, thank you. Time to say bye.
Absolutely.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.